You know it's a serious one when I'm this nervous. And I'm just like, okay, let's talk. So in this video, I'm doing something kind of different. I'm just gonna be really sharing my thoughts on an issue in the world that I think is really interesting and something not super talked about and something that has been really heavy on my heart, as they say, and on my mind for the last couple weeks as I moved into a new place that is my own place, and I live just me and my dog. And I'm very happy about it, very excited, but it has brought up these feelings in which I want to share. So that is today's video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about why it is so incredibly hard to make friends and find friends and keep friends as an adult human person. As an adult human person, why is it so incredibly hard to find these wonderful friends and keep them and make them in the first place if you didn't, go to college and have them from a sorority or a fraternity, which would have been really awesome, but that wasn't my experience. Or if you were stuck at home for a year in a pandemic and haven't seen any of your friends, or maybe work at a new job, which is my experience. Basically discussing this totally undiscussed topic, but yet every time I discuss it with someone, they agree and they're like, yeah, it's really hard, but no one ever talks about it. So even though it's nerve-wracking for me, even though it's somewhat embarrassing, even though it's real and completely honest, let's talk about why it's so fucking difficult to make friends as an adult. So in the theme of honesty of this video, I'm going to be real fucking honest and admit that I do not have a lot of friends. Somebody watching this video is probably like, that's obvious, next. But that is the point of the video. And I'm fully okay with admitting that and figuring out how to make more and also understanding why that is the case. There's a couple reasons why, besides me being a bit of a strange person, obviously, if you know me at all. A little bit of an awkward person. I'm a little bit introverted as well, so sometimes that takes hold and I just introvert in like a little hermit crab. I think the pandemic definitely helped that introverted side just kind of shine. And now that I live on my own, like pretty much completely, I have started to become more of a hermit, I think, where I'm like, oh, I'll just go hang out in my house with my dog by myself because it's my place. It's like a wonderful feeling to be able to go to that place, and I'm really grateful for it, but then you kind of get stuck in that, right? That's a couple of reasons why. Also, I've been working since I was like a junior and senior in high school, and I only went to college for about a year and a half, so I kind of lost all those high school friends and didn't really have any college friends, and I'm in a very different place than a lot of the people that I knew a couple years ago, not in a bad sense at all. Everyone has different journeys, but I'm also interested in a lot of really interesting things like manifesting and spirituality and making videos on the internet about your lack of friends that a lot of people my age, I am 27, are not interested in. And it's hard to find people that have those similar interests as me, which is where friendships start. You don't have to have all the same interests. You just have to, I believe, like have a deep sense of respect for one another and want to spend time with one another and have at least like one mutual shared interest that you can go do together or talk about, whether that be like a TV show or even like doing something entertaining. Just having that one little thing is, how you start to be friends, and it rolls into a best friendship. And I do have some really close best friends that are really wonderful. Some really close people in my life right now that are really wonderful and make me feel great. And I'm really grateful for those people. Now, with me saying all of that about being lonely and the friendships and everything, I don't want it to come off like I am ungrateful in any way, because I do have an amazing life. Like, I have a job that I absolutely love. I have a lot of side projects that I get to help people with that I love. I have a wonderful family and some really wonderful connections in my life that are great. So I'm very, very grateful for all of those things. But it doesn't mean that I don't get lonely as fuck sometimes. Like, I don't think anyone ever, fully doesn't feel that way. Like no matter what you have, monetary wise, friendship wise, relationship wise, I think there's always going to be those moments, right? And how do you deal with them is like the big thing when they come. Loneliness to me, like what does it feel like to me is kind of like the ocean, like comes in waves, and it's usually a very small, subtle wave, and then I go do something to not make me feel lonely. But today was the first time in a long time where at a certain point I just went, back to my home and sat there and was like, wow, I feel so lonely right now. Like, yes, I am technically alone, but just felt like a big wave just crashed all on me. And it wasn't something that I wanted to like reach out to anyone about, or it's not the type of loneliness where you want someone to come be there with you. It's something within you where you're like, oh, for me, it's like I love me and I love being with me, but I want to experience all the things that I love with other people as well. So how do you do that? Like, I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I'm very much a determined and self-realizing person and will not allow myself to feel away very long. Like if I feel sad or lonely or upset, angry, any of those feelings that are not like happy and positive on the lower side of the emotional guidance system from Abraham Hicks, I will not allow myself to live like that for very long, because I think life is too short and we should focus on the people, places, and things that we love, right? That make us feel good. Okay, so in being the extremely, insanely determined person that I am, and the person who does not allow myself to sit in a mode for too long, I was like, what am I gonna do about this? Okay, so yeah, I feel lonely and I need to make a change and not feel this way anymore. And it's up to nobody else but me to fill my life with the things I want and feel differently. So how am I gonna do that? So first, I wrote down a list of how I currently feel and then how I wanted to feel. Normally I like to, or at least I used to avoid, going through like sad emotions or even discussing them or anything, as to not, focus on it or interfere with any manifesting. But now I'm like, all right, let's walk through it, not over it or under it or avoid it. Let's go right through it and see what happens. So I wrote down how I felt, lonely, sad, different, all sorts of things, and then wrote down how I wanted to feel. And that really changed things and showed that actually I'm not that far off from where I want to feel. And a lot of the times I do, and here's the steps to get there. Next, I went to Meetup, which is like an online app where you can, an online app, I swear I'm not from the 1920s or 90 years old. It is an app that you can get on your phone to find really cool groups and things to do. I've joined a bunch but never gone to them, of course. That's the introvert side, but I like RSVP to a bunch of them. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it. What's the worst that can happen, right? Right? You get murdered and die. No, you just have whatever time you have, and then it's an experience. That's the worst that can happen. Okay, so after I wrote down the list of how I felt and how I wanted to feel, and after I went and joined some meetup groups, you can also do like Bumble BFF or a bunch of friend apps. I personally don't like those because it feels like dating apps, which I am not currently on, and don't really have the time or want to do that specifically. And I've done it before, and it was an okay experience, but not anything like fantastic. So that's not my exact route, but I also wrote down like some things that I'm interested in and what type of friends I would find from those things and where would I find them. Like, you have to figure out this information yourself sometimes. So I basically did all the work myself, and then I was like, I want to make this video. That's the next thing I want to do to make myself feel better, but also to talk to people and be honest, because I do make videos sometimes on relationships and feelings and mental health, and this kind of hits all of those. The feeling of being in a time where we are the most connected that we have ever been in the world by technology, but yet here we are, a lot of us feeling super lonely and lost after a pandemic where we couldn't be connected. It's like a totally unprecedented feeling in which I don't think a lot of us know how to handle or talk about. And I'm definitely not the first to talk about it, but I want to be one that does talk about it very openly, because there's nothing wrong with absolutely loving your life, but needing a little bit more connection in it. So this has just been my personal experience and me just like being very honest and sharing with the internet, of course, my number one friend, sharing with the internet about how I currently feel. You can see my face is so red right now, like so nervous about it, but that's how I feel. Absolutely love my life and the people in it and the people that surround it, but sometimes super lonely and working on that journey. So maybe I'll document that journey of changing that and seeing what brings me joy, fills me with light, and gets rid of some of that loneliness. And if anyone has ever felt this way, please let me know. Please comment that you understand and you feel this way and you're ready to not feel this way in the new 2021.